Uh, so the class is being recorded, and this is EA300B, and this is our first class on a number of classes on voices in the park, and I'm on. I think it's going to be today, perhaps. Can I ask you not to use the WhatsApp group, and this can be very disruptive. Unless you have issues, unless you cannot access the room, and I think we all have access. Okay, so people are raising their hands because this was the question that I asked before I pressed the recording, as whether you have read the picture book or not. So if you have done just that, I would like you to raise your hands. You haven't already done so. Okay, طيب, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our overall impressions about the uh, picture book and whether it was a first good impression or what. And let's try to engage in some kind of comparison but between this one and the one that we did before. Let's start with Mariam. Are you the Mariam Radwan that I know? I asked you this
Um,
question last time, but you,
can
you
you hear
didn't
me? Sorry,
answer.
I don't know if
Yeah,
my mic is working.
yes, I can hear you, Mariam. Are you the Mariam that I know from before?
Yes, yes, I
Okay,
am the
how are
same
you?
Maria. Alhamdulillah. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so what do you have to say about the second picture book, Voices in the Park?
I think it's a very interesting one. I really liked it.
I don't know whether everybody can hear you. And obviously you're I mean you're not very audible.
Okay,
Can you
I'll try
guys hear
something else.
Mary?
Just give me
Okay.
1 second.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Yaman.
Hello?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Okay.
Mhm.
Is my voice clear? Better?
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
Okay. I was saying that it was a very interesting story. I really liked it, even though it was for little kids, but I felt that it gave us many perspectives for the same events, which is very unique for a child's book, how the same event can be seen from different points of views, and how you can experience many feelings and many emotions during just one simple interaction,
Mhm.
which I think is very eye-opening.
I mean, you're
Whereas
trying to
in
say that, like I mean, I don't know the expression in English. We call it, yeah, in Arabic we call it سهل ممتنع. Do you agree with
yes,
this description?
yes, absolutely, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was very clever, even though it's very simple at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Peter the Rabbit is it's just one point view, and I found Voices in the Park more interesting than the
Yeah, do
first
you
one.
think that we were held hostage to this point of view in The Tale of Peter
Exactly,
Rabbit?
yeah. Like
Mm-hmm.
we don't know the point of view of the humans, for example. They might
Mm-hmm.
think something else other than the rabbits. Whereas in Voices in the Park, you experience many emotions from
Yeah.
just one simple interaction. Yeah, that's what I
Does this
thought
point,
about.
Mariam and everybody else, does it point to the fact that obviously truth is I don't know, can I say that
Subjective,
truth
maybe.
is not absolute? You mean I can see things from my own point of view, and somebody else can see the same thing in a different light and in a different way, but we both of us can be correct. You think this is um, what Brown meant at one point?
Yes, I
Yes,
actually agree with
yes,
this.
exactly.
Mm. And this is, I think, a function and a feature of the postmodern times. You have this idea of fluidity. I mean, I don't know whether this is good or bad. I mean, because I'm from a generation that was raised on the idea that truth is absolute. We need to all agree on this kind of truth. But that's why, I mean, you have obviously those different and converging viewpoints, and they all talk about the self same. events, and I don't know. I really don't know. You guys are from a different generation. Perhaps you may feel more at home with this idea that truth can be expressed in different ways, and it can be even different. Mariam, thank you so much for your insights, lovely as they are, as always. Thank you, Mariam. Can we have somebody? Can we have Zahra?
Yes, doctor. Uh,
Uh,
I,
yeah.
I agree with my classmate Mariam as what she said. It's a very unique story, not as, for example, Peter Rabbit. There's no a clear climax in this story. There's no nothing much, nothing big, but it's just a bunch of gorilla going to the park. But what's unique is that it's being told from different point of view, and I think everyone can relate to this because it's being told from this point of view is different. We can have child, there's the mother, there's the poor father, so everyone read the story and to some extent will relate to some one of them.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's what do you think of the issues? Do you think these are like are they realistic things that we may relate to, things that may
Ye-
happen to us?
yes, absolutely, this is very
Mm-hmm.
realistic, and the way the story is written is very contemporary because it's a contemporary writer.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue like the mother, you know, looking down at the father and the child wanting a company to play with. It this is a very realistic, even the
Mm.
setting is realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. The park, right? The setting
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
park, right? And
Absolutely.
okay. Yeah. Thank you, Zahra. Can we go all the way to Fatma Ibrahim Bilal?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Fatma. How are you?
Hello, good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Well, as I've said, yes, it is a very simple but very also deep story. And the way that each story was written, the illustrations that also accompanied the story, even gave more insight into the characters of each story and how they lived and how they felt in their
Okay.
perspective.
So if you have to set the two stories against each other, if you have to choose a favorite, which one will it be?
A
This
favorite,
one? Yes.
I would probably say it would be Smudge.
In terms of characters, but
In
in
terms of
terms,
character,
and then
I
I'm
felt
talking
it.
about the stories. I mean, this
Yeah.
one and the one before.
Okay.
And
I think
by stories, I mean the Tale of Peter Rabbit and Voices in the Park. If you
yeah,
have to choose one, if you have to vote for one.
it would be this one because it gave a different perspective all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, Fatma, thank you so much. Let's go all the way to Aya. Aya, what do you have to say about this?
Doctor, I like the way the writer used techniques in this story. For example, the narration is divided into four voices. Also, the fonts. Each character has its own font.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I noticed that each character tell the story in different season. For example, the father is telling the story in the winter, while Smudge in the summer. And it is the same
Mm-hmm.
to Charles and his mother.
And obviously, this is very this is very symbolic, right? And, colors are not used, and the choice of seasons is not just random, right? It's very suggestive of the
Yes,
moods of the
exactly.
characters, the behavior of the characters, right?
Yes, doctor. I noticed that each family has its own dog, and I believe
Mm.
that it symbolizes the two families.
Uh-huh. Obviously, if you have a mongrel, it's different from having. I don't know about the brand or the breed of the other dog, but obviously, it's more refined. It's it's a better breed, right?
Yes,
So even the dogs are symbolic of the status of the families that own them. Are you trying to say this, Aya?
Yes, yes, doctor, exactly. Because Charles and his mother are from a very high rank social,
Mm,
while Smudge and her father, they represent the poor family, as
yeah,
I understand.
yeah, you understand quite well. Yeah, Aya, thank you so much. Let's go all the way to Bara. Bara has something to share with us.
Yes, sir. First, mashallah, my classmates did a really great job, but if I can, just let me give you a really quick review. First, Voices in the Park is a picture book written and illustrated by Anthony Brown, which is text and pictures at the same time. The story in general told through both text and illustration, and the artwork playing a significant role in the conveying the emotions and different perspectives of the characters. For the themes, actually, most of the themes like revolve around perspective and absolutely social classes, loneliness, and connection. Let's go to the characters. We have a wealthy woman and her son, and poor man and his daughter. Each character narrates their own experience of visiting the park, offering unique and insights into their lives and perspective. So excited, sir, to discuss the story with you, and it should be different and wonderful, of course.
Okay, Bara, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Um, Diala, you wanted to say something?
Yes, doctor. I believe that in this novel, the
It's
techniques of
not a
writing.
novel, mind you. It's
Yeah, I'm
not a
sorry for
novel.
yeah,
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 a
sorry
picture
for
book.
the short.
Mm.
Yeah, picture book. The techniques of writing. It's really interesting, more than the tale of Peter Rabbit, because the author here used the visual intertextuality, which is just using another pictures or characters from another picture book
Hmm.
or a novel,
Yeah,
like the
that's
one that we
interesting.
have.
Now, what Diala is talking about is very interesting. The idea of visual intertextuality. You were familiar with intertextuality from previous class. Intertextuality is when you refer to other works, so whether they are artistic or literary, from outside. You can refer to other poems, other paintings. um, this is if it's verbal, if it's all text that you are referring to from outside, this is called intertextuality. But if it's paintings and sculptures and artistic things that you're referring to, we call it visual intertextuality. Okay, go on, yeah, Diala. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay, doctor. Also, I feel that, mashallah, the writer used a really nice technique by using a different kind of yani writing types. Like it just write, yani draw a connection between the type of the line writing types and the social rank for each one of character. If you look, just when she wrote down about the mother, she just write a formal type of writing. But when she was talking about the man who is from a less social rank, she just used an informal type of writing. So actually, it's really interesting kind of book, and it just hold on a lot of ideas about the social ranks, how she just divided the characters into it. So I'm really interested by reading this kind of picture book more than the Tale of Peter Rabbit.
Thank you, Diala. Thank you so much for those very beautiful insights. Zahra, did you forget your hand up, or are you trying to say something else?
No, I was just trying to say what Diala said lastly because most interesting is the visual image in the story. You cannot separate them from the text. You cannot read the text alone and understand it, which
Is it?
is,
I mean,
the case in picture
it's.
books.
Let me ask you, Zahra, this question. Did you feel it perhaps more, and this is happening more intensely than we have seen that in the Tale of Peter Rabbit, for example?
Yeah,
Are you trying to? Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, the deeper you dig, the more meaning you get.
Mm,
The longest you look at the pictures, the much information you get out of it. Like, it's one picture, but there's a lot of meaning, a lot of things the writer is saying. That cannot be separated from the text itself.
Mhm.
This is the most interesting part for me. That's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Zahra. I like it when people dig deep into the stuff and they don't just focus on what meets the eye. Thank you so much for the work that you guys have been doing over the past 2 weeks. You're doing an excellent job, mashallah, all of you, and I'm so proud of you. Um, you left me nothing. I mean, what else should I say about obviously you said lots of things, but I came across a very interesting file that spells out what you guys have been beautifully saying about the picture book. Other than that, it's good. I mean, it's you're analyzing stuff as if you have been reading picture books for years and years. That's very amazing and very interesting. Um, we have perhaps room for more insights if you guys have any. People who haven't participated yet, would you like to come to the mic and say something before we go to the file? Okay, let me go to the second page because we have also other people in the other. uh, Thank you, Amanal. Thank you so much. We haven't heard your voice tonight, yeah, Amanal. You're keeping a low profile today.
I have so much noise around me. You don't want to
That
hear my voice today.
no, that's fine. Thank you, Manal.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Okay, let's move all the way to the file that I told you about and see how sh- I was sharing and I stopped sharing. So this is obviously the uh, the picture book that you have. I don't know whether you were reading it online, and if you read it online, it's colored, but if it's kind of printed out, it's not going to be very colorful. So I would like you to, and this is not perhaps a waste of time, if we go through the picture book together very quickly and see, and I would like you to pay very special attention to the pictures, of course, the coloring, the change of seasons, and also I would like you to look at the fonts and see how they change with the speaker or the voice. I'm not going to comment, and I'm not going to ask you whether you have, I mean, seen or watched or not. But let me just scroll down and see what will happen. إيه ده، متخانقين دول ولا إيه؟
Many hidden messages here.
Absolutely, yes. لا حول ولا قوة. What's happening with this guy? Mm. Yeah, very interesting, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Are you into dogs? Those who are into dogs, raise your hands. You know the different brands and breeds. Zahra
A bit.
knows about, yeah, and Manal too, Mariam. Okay, do you keep a dog? I mean, do you have a dog as perhaps a pet back home?
No, I
Mm,
don't, but I know some of their breeds, not all of
yes.
them.
So
Some.
when I say a mongrel, obviously a mongrel is not what? Is it a hybrid kind of dog or what? Yeah, Maran.
Uh, no, I'm not that proficient. I just know pit bull,
Mm,
golden retrievers, chihuahuas.
mm, nice. Okay.
Sounds like a street dog. Mongrel.
Ah, yes. Yes, commoner, right? In our
A
terms, is
mixed
just
breed or
no
yeah.
origin, right? You can never tell
Yeah.
Agree.
unless you have this DNA kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Manal, for the insights. Which is very telling. I mean, it's only natural that the mongrel whose name is Albert is owned by the poor family, right?
Yeah.
While the other family has, I mean, even the picture of the dog of the other family is he seems to be royal and well
Pure
fed
breed.
and yeah, and well fed and everything. Nice. Okay. Okay.
We have a German Shepherd female.
You mean back home?
Yeah, in our
Mm,
home.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
obviously a high breed, right?
She's a pure breed
Mm,
and she's not cheap, but yeah, it shouldn't be a house pet, but we realized that after she grew up that she's a dog slash horse,
hmm.
so it's very difficult keeping her, but yeah.
You mean it should be where if you don't keep it back home?
مزرعة
Ah,
مزرعة
mm,
someplace outdoorsy, but because my sisters brought her and
mm.
she was a puppy, so
Yeah,
it
you
was
mean
cute at the time.
you mean you even domesticated it?
Yes.
Yeah,
So at
it
the
now
time it was
behaves
cute,
like
but
yeah.
yeah, now that she's a horse, it's
Yeah.
difficult to tolerating her around the house. Even her tail knocks down everything.
Uh, so you need to
Yeah.
think you have a family meeting and decide on her fate, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay. So Voices in the Park, and the title is very telling and very also significant. The fact that it's voices that we're talking about, not only one voice, and it's also the park where people meet in the park, people. People reach out to each other sometimes. You know, if you go to the park and you have people, chilling out and reaching out to each other sometimes. Okay. So Voices in the Park is, yeah, we can judge. I mean, having like an essay or a piece of research that starts from the very beginning and tells you that something is very well written is actually not the way to go. Actually, we need people to judge for themselves. You don't force your opinion on them. But from what we have seen, I think we agreed that this is a very well written picture book. This is what Mariam said. This is what Zahra and everybody else said. It's a very well written picture book, and obviously, what comes after is going to explain it all, right? So we're agreed that this is a very well written picture book, and it can be for both children and young, not, no, they don't have to be young adults. I mean, people like me in my 50s, I can, I enjoyed it very much, and I relate to some of what was happening in the story, right? So that also confirms what we said about children's literature not being entirely and exclusively about children and for children, right? We enjoy it all the same, and we are young adults like yourselves or an adult like myself, right? Do you guys agree with this? Um,
Yes, yes, I
Definitely.
Agree.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, of course.
So this is an Anthony Brown's book, and Anthony Brown is famous for his picture books. He is also an illustrator, and he is fond of the idea of, portraying his characters as animals, and especially as gorillas. And again, if we talk about animals, assuming the roles of people, I'm sorry, or human beings, behaving like them, doing what human beings do. Obviously, this is um, in and under the category and under the territory of anthropomorphism, right? So it's a highly anthropomorphic piece of work where the characters are animals and they are gorillas. Um, Again, we'll talk about why animals and why gorillas in a minute. So this was a bestseller. It was published in 1999, which would make it a postmodern piece of work. So, what are the characteristics and features of postmodern works? This is something that we're going to talk about later tonight, inshallah. So, the book allows us to see life through each of the characters in the story. So, it's at the same life aspect. They are talking about specific events, and each of the four is giving his perspective or telling things from his or her angle of vision. So we also said that this is, of course, it's fiction, because it may be based on real events, but it's fiction at the end of the day, and it's realistic because we can relate to the events. These are actual happenings that may happen to any of us. We're talking about unemployment, and sometimes people get sacked or fired. They look for jobs, and sometimes they get disappointed. And so this is very realistic. When you talk about this idea of class, the fact that societies are made up of classes, you have high class, middle class, and lower classes. And obviously, the relationship between these classes are not normally kind of good. I mean, there is always apprehension and mistrust. There is this confidence deficit among and between the classes. Um, so it's contemporary because it's 1999. Um, um, yeah, I would, it's not very recent, but it's still postmodern. Again, if we talk about realistic fiction, we're talking about realistic settings, vivid description of realistic settings, characters that are credible and multi-dimensional. You see, they're different. You see different emotions and feelings, kind of fomenting inside that. You don't have pure evil, and you don't have pure good. People are a mix of that what lend credibility to them. So even the problems are relatable and believable. Well, again, the idea of unemployment, the idea of class differences and class animosities and hatred. So if you apply those criteria to Voices in the Park, you'll find that they apply. So this is a plausible story. Plausible means it can happen. Uh, um, we're talking basically about an upper class mother She has a son, and they take their dog and they go to the park. Very realistic. They meet other people who are not on the same level. They don't belong to the same socioeconomic uh, level. They somehow interact and act, and out of this interaction, we get to know more about both of them, the two families. Um, Again, through their conversations and what they say, and the narrative, and the language they use, the vivid imagery, and description that they deploy and use, we get to know more about them, and we perhaps relate more to them. Again, what makes it even more relatable would be the fact that the characters are gorillas. Again, um, picture books are about this human connections that the writer tries to kind of establish between and among the characters. So, um, children's literature, from my experience, is whether it's picture books or pure novels, is about seeking human connections. Um, and connections do not mean building relationships with people in high places so that at one point you take advantage. No, human connection on the human level, feeling for other people, being empathetic, feeling for others, and allow them to feel for you and stuff like that. So this happened, and it couldn't have happened um, if the characters were human beings. Again, because we're talking about classes, we're talking about class animosities and hatred and difference. So if the characters were human beings, and put yourself in a scenario where you are a reader, you're a human being, and the characters are human beings, and we're discussing classes and class differences. So if you belong to a high class, and you see characters talking about middle or lower classes, you may not identify with them. You may not feel their pain. You may even feel biased, and you may feel prejudice against them. By the same token, if the character is high class and you as a reader is low class, you may not also relate to the high class if this high class character is having a dilemma, is going through hardships. So in order to avoid that, in order to allow us as readers to perhaps make the right connections, the characters are animals, and of all the animals, Brown chose gorillas. So again, in order to build those kinds of human connections, in order for you as a reader to identify with the characters, to feel what they feel, to look at things from their own perspective, you were, I mean, the writer avoided portraying the characters as human beings. So, if the characters had been depicted as human or as human being, reader might refuse to relate to the characters due to preconceived bias about race, socioeconomic class, or the gender of the characters. So, if you read with this kind of prejudice and with this kind of bias, that would limit your ability and even your willingness to make personal connections with the characters and the experiences that they bring to the picture book. So when a reader is able to visualize the characters as animals, and animals that lack certain human elements of socioeconomic status and gender roles, they are more likely to relate to those kind of characters. And of course, you know, the animal depictions and what they stand for. For example, the depiction of the mother would give you the impressions that she is wealthy, and it would also give you or project those stereotypical attitudes of wealthy women. The father is depicted as yeah, he gives you the feeling that we're talking about يعني um, a poverty-stricken family, and also he expresses the attitudes of poor men. And then you have the children, and what is interesting about the children is that they transcend gender stereotypes. You would expect the girl to be very docile and very obedient and very non-assertive, like the sisters of Peter, but this time around, Smudge is totally different. She is very assertive. She takes matters into her own hands. She's even more assertive than her own father, right? The boy, on the other hand, is submissive, is at the mercy of his own mother. He is a mere puppet in the hands of his own mother. He fears, obviously, he fears. I don't know whether he hates his mother. Nobody hates his mother, obviously, but it doesn't seem that he would relish her being around. If he has to kind of choose between Smudge and his mother, he would choose Smudge because Smudge is more fun, perhaps you know, close to him in age, and so the boy takes on more of a female gender role, the typical female gender role, because obviously this is not what females are about. It's only a social construct. I mean, females are as powerful as it gets. They are as assertive. They are as smart, and everything in between. So the boy Charles is reluctant to play with the girl and less outgoing. You would also expect from the literature to see a boy who is very active, even naughty and outgoing, but this is actually not happening. The girl or Smudge here wants to play with the boy and is much more outgoing. We're not used to this kind of thing. She seems to convince the boy to play, which is not very characteristic of girls in most of the stories that we have seen. If we talk about the textual elements, of course, when we talk about the text, we talk about the words, we talk about the narration, we talk about the choice of words, and not and there is an added aspect, which is the idea of when we talk about the, because it's a picture book, obviously, we talk about the font, we talk about the choice of the color, even of the font. These things make all the difference. You may not think about them if you're reading a mainstream kind of novel, but if it's a picture book, everything counts and everything is significant in and of itself. So the text itself reads as we have four separate stories and each with its own voice. And of course, towards the end, you would have this semi-ambiguous ending where there is this blending of the voice. Again, what is interesting is that you're not given, um, I mean, no single meaning is imposed on you. It's you're left to come up with your own conclusions. You see the scenarios, you listen to what the four voices are saying, and then you come up with your own conclusions about what kind of characters we have and what kind of ideas and issues the picture book is addressing and is grappling with. So again, part of this textual aspects, we have this idea of um, font choices. We have different font styles, and obviously they reflect the different voices and their moods and their characters and everything in between. Um, we have the mother who starts she's voice number one, and with her we're using Times New Roman. And this is the font that we're using in this file. Can you see the font that I'm using in the file?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
So it's a very
Oh,
formal one.
yeah, there is nothing majestic about it. It's not playful, it's not stunning, it's very formal, right? Um,
Yes.
Yes.
and this is obviously very compatible and very suitable to what we already know about the mother. We know that she is, you know, I don't know how. I mean, we normally associate formality with people who are, I mean, who are high class, and I don't know who set those kinds of rules. But anyway, let's subscribe to them. We have no other choice. So again, time New Romance is used for the right effect because the mother is bossy, because the mother is belongs to the you know to the upper class. So out of all the fonts, this one makes the letters look tall, adding tails on the top and the bottom of the letter. It's a very formal kind of font, and this is done intentionally to reflect and suggest cultural refinement. I don't like the idea that we normally associate refinement with high class people, because you can be refined if you even if you're poor. يعني refinement means يعني رقي في الأخلاق وفي so again, it's a formal kind of font, and it reflects, like I said, the cultural refinement of this lady who belongs to the high class category. If you move on to Smudge, his father, you are going to see that the font is not formal, and it's also bolded. Bolded means that you have this, it's blackened. You can feel the black color in the font. There is just more of a noticeable rounding of the letters, and of course, it's not as rigid as the ones for the font of the mother. Again, it's bold, like we said, and informal. And even the grammar used is not, it doesn't suggest refinement, to say the least. And that would indicate that he belongs to a working class person. Um, Again, I mean, it's true that it is written that this is a voice, but we cannot hear him. So we may depend on other things to tell us that his voice, for example, is deep or even rough, by making the letters or the words bold. As you might expect, if we talk about Charles, the son of the lady, we're going to have a kind of font that reflect his personality and his size. Obviously, he is very small. Obviously, he is very weak. That's why you have a font that reflects that. It's barely and hardly visible. You can, I mean, if you compare it, of course, to the other voices, the font is barely visible, um, due to it being very thin. I mean, and it can this thin kind of thing can be a reference to Charles himself. Remember when we saw him in one of the pictures? If you compare him to his mother, she is, mashallah, very gigantic, right? Very intimidating in size, right? And he is a small, cute little thing, right? So using this kind of font with shards would indicate that he is weak, that he has a small voice, and it would also indicate that he feels intimidated by the presence of
Low
his mother.
self-esteem.
Yeah, absolutely, that too, mashallah. And of course, his mother has, uh, she is also symbolic of authority and authoritarianism, if you like. I mean, she's very dictatorial, even.
Even in the picture, doctor, he is always under uh, his mother's shadow.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yes. Which is, what do you expect? I don't know. I don't want us to, something. I don't want us to read too much into it because I mean, we as whether we're parents or kids, what do you expect a mother to do with her son? Sometimes, yeah, and they are stifling and they are suffocating and they are everything in between. But sometimes, I mean, the relationship is nice. I mean, it's not my fault that I am a parent who is big in size and my child is small. He or she has to be small. Wallahi. So
Yes,
it
by
doesn't
default.
mean, yeah, it doesn't mean that I am exercising my dictatorial privileges on him or her, right?
Emasculating him.
That's too harsh, right? Let's
Yeah.
move on. Um, and then we move to the lovely Smudge. Uh, if you have to choose a favorite, I think Smudge would be the one, right? Are we agreed on Smudge?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. Why? Why? Let's do. If you're going to write like some kind of character sketch on and about and of Smudge, what are you going to say? And it doesn't have to be this capsulized kind of thing. I mean, uh, what do you really think about the character? And she may be even relatable, given the fact that it's women folks that we have here, right? You
Yeah.
okay, Zahra? Yeah,
She okay.
yeah. Let's
I
let's
think she's
have
very
yeah.
outgoing. She is
Mm,
playful. She is even motivating her father. Um, and she is not the stereotype type of
mm,
girls because
mm,
she encourages the boy to play with her, and
mhm.
she is trying to change his point of view. So I think she's
And
very
even this little boy, when he had to say something and when he had to be forceful about something, he was forceful about women. He's saying that, yeah, I like her, but yani it's like saying, okay, had it not been for the fact that she's a girl, she would have been perhaps more. Remember this? I don't remember the quote. I
yeah,
mean, he said,
I remember he said that
yeah.
it would be more joyful if it was a boy. But then at the end of the story, he said he wishes that Smudge will come back again
Yeah,
to the
so it,
park.
it was very condescending of him at the very beginning.
Yeah,
She was trying to take him off the dominion of his own mother, and she was doing him a favor.
yeah.
And look how he returned this kind of favor by saying, yeah, she's nice, but she's a girl. And at the end of the day, right?
No, she
Mm.
said it. She said it at first, doctor. At the end of the day, she said he said that he
Yeah,
hopes
and
that
I'm
Smudge will
saying
come
at the
back
beginning,
again.
he,
Yeah, but he
I'm,
misjudged her. He misjudged her at the beginning.
which
Yeah,
is a typical male attitude, I think, right?
yeah, which
True.
Yeah.
represent the stereotype. You know
Ah,
how
yes.
society view girls and how they view women.
Ah,
Girls
yes.
are
Yeah, this
boring.
Yeah.
it's not about being boring as much as it is a being non-assertive and you wouldn't expect much of them. They you normally confine them to the house, the
Wouldn't be
traditional role.
interesting. And he shocked
Yeah,
himself when he realized that she has personality and
Mm,
character
mhm.
and outgoing and
Yes.
confidence, then
And
he
this,
liked her. But in
yes,
the
absolutely.
beginning, she's just a girl. Ew.
Yeah, but this is obviously this is intentional upon the part of Brown. Perhaps Brown is against the idea that women are put in in a mold that is not theirs. There is obviously more to a girl and a woman than just those wifely kind of duties, and you're confined to the home and raising of kids, right? I think he had an agenda up his sleeves,
Yeah,
right?
I agree with the doctor, and I think
Mm.
this is very expected from such a contemporary writer.
Well, not very expected. I mean, we still have
Why not?
people who subscribe to those old notions of women sticking around doing nothing but, keeping the I don't know.
Following orders,
Yes, no, they are not supposed to pursue careers or dreams or whatever.
gender roles.
Yes, yes. So obviously he is going against this. There is a reversal of gender roles. He is obviously challenging the stereotypical attitudes towards women always and everywhere, right? Fatma wanted to say something. Fatma, would you like to come to the mic and say this something that you wanted to say?
Yes. I just wanted to say that I found Smudge to be carefree and silly, and that's how she sees the world around her.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
quite
I'm
relatable.
sorry.
Yeah.
You,
I said
you, you,
can you hear
you,
me?
fa Yeah, you said that she's
Yes.
Sally?
I've found her to be a silly, carefree child, which they
Uh,
should be at that age, and she sees the
Smudge?
world around her. Yes.
Mm,
She
mm.
sees the world around her as playful.
Which, man, are you, kind of, this is a judgment or what? Well,
No, no,
this
no.
is
This is a
an
judgment.
assessment of her character.
This is how I saw her,
I
as
mean,
just
you're
being
saying
carefree.
you're saying this in good faith. I mean, you like her.
Yes, I do, because she reminds me of my child, just very carefree and silly, and sees things very imaginative as well. And that's
Which is
how,
obviously good, which is something you appreciate in your child, right?
yes, yes.
Nice. Okay. بحسب يعني. Okay.
ما نرضى
Very.
عليها.
Uh, okay. Yeah. These are very interesting insights. Let's go on. So Smudge's font is a more fun type of font that resembles the voice of a playful child. This is exactly what Fatma is saying. Like her father's font, hers is also portrayed in bold. And obviously, it doesn't mean that she has this rough, deep voice that you would expect of men, but it may seem that she is perhaps an indication that um, she's more fun, like I said. She is playful and more, or heartier, heartier or more hearty. Um, um, Again, as you can see, fonts reveal what obviously cannot be revealed because it's you're only reading. You're not seeing a movie, for example, where you can see or you can feel the characters and you can hear them. And so the fonts and the choice of words, because it's a text, can kind of help you, kind of come up with some kind of assessment of the characters. And then we'll move to the idea of point of view and how those also different points of view obviously converge sometimes and converge and diverge some other times. Of course, you have the point of view of the mother that, of course, reflects the fact that she is high class. But I don't like the idea that being a high class is a tuhma or some kind of a stigma. It's not that she is high class, don't get me wrong, high class people in class, but it's her attitude. She's you can be high class and you can show humility and everything. And I have seen so many high class people who are very yani, humble and very yani, nice. But it's the idea that she is snobbish, and obviously high class is one thing, and being snobbish is another. Snobbish is when you deal with people in a very condescending and patronizing attitude, as if you chose to be high class and they chose to be low class. No, it's sheer accident, like being born in a certain country and somebody else being born in a certain other country that is not as perhaps rich or yeah. So it's not something that you have chosen. Um, that's why you should humble down. And this is actually what we are not seeing here with the mother, right? So it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not about her being high class as much as it is about her attitudes towards people who are not high class. Are you getting my point? I think you are.
Yes.
Let's move to the second point of view, and this is obviously the father. And obviously, he has this small world of his. He is so stuck, um, um, obviously, because he doesn't have a job. All he thinks of is how to get a job and get out of. I mean, with if you don't have a job, sometimes you don't have money, and that would affect the entire family. So these are things I am sure this father was thinking of. Um, and some of his revelations reveal a great deal about him. Remember when he was looking at his dog, and he said that he wish he had half the energy of that dog. There isn't much to talk about when it comes to the father, which is also very um, unusual, because you would expect males in novels and in literature in general to be very assertive, to be dominating the airwaves, if you like, but this is not obviously happening here, right? And then you have Charles, another male, and another low key male, quite uncharacteristic of the literature that we've been reading. Again, you would look at how he looks at girls and women in general through his revelations. Um, he is overshadowed by the heavy presence of his mother. He can be, um, he has this capacity for change. Remember, it is true that he is under the dominion of his mother, but he could somehow get rid um, of this or the grip or the grips of his mother uh, uh, if he is given the opportunity. Again, you would look at how he sees things and how he sees Smudge. It is true that he is very, he has those male chauvinistic attitudes towards girls, but he was ready to change that when he saw that she's up to something. And then we have the girl Smudge, and obviously she is a towering figure in the novel. looms very large on everybody. She places the different characters through her presence. She is fun to be around. She makes things happen. She takes matters into her own hand when she finds that um, older people are not doing what they are supposed to do. And she's very democratic. She doesn't have those antagonistic attitudes towards the girl, the lady, and no, she also it's across the board. She hates what the lady was doing, but she doesn't hate her. Obviously, she hates her actions and behavior, and not the human being in her. Again, the same applies to the guy. I mean, when she first looked at him, she thought that he is a wimpy kind of guy, weakling and submissive, but she was ready to give him a chance, and she changed his attitude, and she accepted him eventually. So, of all those four characters, Smudge pays more attention to the emotions of everyone. Um, Charles undergoes a transformation from being a depressed, wimpy kind of guy to being happy, and then he went back to his old self and became sad when he found out that he has to leave and leave Smudge behind. The father is not very is not a very inviting character. He didn't do much. He's stuck in his own world, and all he thinks of is how to find a job. Um, the mother is, like I said, is very snobbish. She is even sometimes more concerned with herself and the dog rather than her own son. Um, and then you have artistic elements. And when we talk about artistic elements, of course, we talk about symbolism, we talk about the choice of colors, and we talk about the choice of seasons. Uh, and these are things that when we talk about art, obviously, we're not talking about text anymore, right? We're talking about the images and the visuals. That's why we're saying art. And then we have two types of art here. We have what we call impressionistic art, and impressionistic is you see objects and they give you impressions about things. And among those objects and among those things would be, for example, the choice of colors and the choice of seasons, for example. And this is very much reflected, of course, in the pictures, like we said. When we talk about that, of course, we talk about like I said, the colors and seasons. This is reflected in, for example, when we talk about the mother um, and the illustrations that shows us the mother or show us the mother. We have the trees in the background changing colors, the colors of their leaves, and it's always fall with the mother with the associations of fall. Obviously, if you compare fall to spring, there is a huge difference. Spring is about vitality, vibrance, life, openness, right? While fall is the opposite. So it's only natural that the mother's colors and the trees which constitute the background where she sits are all showing us fall. So the colors that we have with this lady are brown, yellow, orange, red, among other. These are obviously not very bright colors if you compare them, of course, to other colors, as we're going to see. Um, if you go, for example, to the background when the dogs are playing, of course, the dogs are Victoria and Albert when they play. The trees behind them use spring-like colors: pink, reds, greens, whites, and blues, and those are colors that represent and suggest the blooming of the flowers on the trees. And this is obviously new life, new beginnings. Vibrance, vitality, life, optimism, uh, and the same colors are used 2 pages later when we see Smudge and Charles climbing up uh, the trees. You would compare or contrast rather this with situations, or one of the situations when Charles is being led away from playing with Smudge. So everything in this case is going to turn from springtime to a more pre-winter atmosphere. In these situations, you will find that the trees are losing their leaves, the branches are sagging, and the colors of the bushes turn into dark colors. And the colors of choice here would be dark green, green, black, brown, and these are not very bright colors, and they wouldn't indicate optimism. And uh, somebody has just came, but he or she doesn't have a name. May I know what your name is? The one who just walked into the room now. I'm just asking, I'm not the one who just came into the room now. What's your name? And obviously, I'm putting him or her under the spot, and this is not a very beautiful. So it's 9,101,66,000. What's your name? Okay. He or she doesn't have any. Right, let's move on. I'm sorry if I'm putting you under.
9191. Me, Bedria. My name is Bedria.
Badreya. Hi, Badreya. How are you?
I'm fine, Doctor. Fine.
Sorry for uh, the. Okay, let's go on. And then we have this surrealistic kind of art, which is also here. So if you know, art can be impressionistic about colors and choice of seasons. When I say that something is surrealistic, I mean it's a mix between our subconscious levels and the conscious mind. They collide together, not collide, they conspire together, and the end result is lack of logical comprehensibility. It's more of a dream where you cannot really disentangle things from each other. It's a fluid kind of world where colors get mixed, where even the facts, and it's, when you are in a state of dream and that the dream is not very, clear. So surrealistic style uses visual imagery from the subconscious mind to create art without the intention of logical comprehensibility. So if you ask for yani comprehensibility when it comes to serialism, so you are mistaken, obviously. And this is clear in Smudge's illustrations, um, where and this is especially with Smudge, because Smudge is given agency. She is, because she is perhaps the main character, she's given more space in which she kind of targets the characters. If she doesn't like a character, she imagines him or her in a certain way, and her imagery are very vivid, but they sometimes are very scathing. And then we have many examples where, because she doesn't like the mother or the attitudes of the mother, she describes or she imagines her in very mocking and very sarcastic situations. Um, Smudge's perception of the world around her contains startling images of fruit-shaped trees, multicolored light posts, gorilla statues with swimming trunks on, and trees in the shape of gorilla heads. And we have the example of her picturing Charles' mother looking down angrily when she was looking down angry at her. The mother's red hat is popping off of her head and is suspended in midair with lines shooting out of the sides of the hat. That would be very comic and very sarcastic. So while this is happening, the flowers that were on her scarf are literally standing up of the scarf. Um, so this is uh, um, mocking, obviously, the mother, and this is how Smudge's mind perceives the lady. And we have another example of this kind of art when the father lets Alfred off the leash and the dog runs, chasing Victoria into the woods. Thinking about where the father's mind is now, he is depressed and sad about not having a job. And this is represented in the color of the illustration with the two dogs, where, as you see, the woods turn into this dark colored place with greens, blues, and black. This is actually not the color of the woods. However, it reflects the father's perception. We're talking about perception and not reality. Um, and then there is this talk about where the characters are on the page and whether this placement of the characters makes a difference or not. And obviously, it does make a difference, like we have seen in, remember when we spoke about that in the Tale of Peter Rabbit, and how we are made to feel for Peter and to even embrace his point of view because he is most of the time close up, very close to the ground. This is also happening here, where obviously the placement of the characters can make all the difference. Um, Again, you would see that reflected in the corners and the edges and the borders of those illustrations. Again, you would look, for example, at Smudge's father and the idea of three dimensionality when he is sitting on the couch over there, where we're having a shadow behind him. And then there is a difference somewhere else. Again, those kinds of placements with the corners and um, the edges can capture or can add to and contribute to our overall impressions about the characters and their behavior and what happened or happens to them. This is not limited to the father. It goes all the way to Charles and to the other characters, and even to Smudge herself. I think I'm done here. The only thing that I would like to comment on would be, or left, yeah, would be the idea that this is a postmodern picture book with what it means to be a postmodern picture. Postmodern because it was published in 1999. Um, And when you talk about postmodernism in the text, we talk about the idea of non-linearity. And we're pushed away from this Western mindset of linearity. Linearity means that you have a beginning, you have a middle, and you have an end. You have seen that with the mainstream novels that we have been studying all those years. Non-linearity is a feature and a function of the postmodern times, where you don't have a specific beginning, you don't have a middle, and definitely you don't have a closure or an end. This is one of the things. Another example or feature of postmodern is the idea of intertextuality. And intertextuality is simply about, kind of referring to texts outside the text. So you have our text, which is Voices in the Park, but you have references to other texts from other sources. Those texts can be archetypal if we talk about the Bible, if we talk about the Quran, if we talk about seminal works like the Odyssey and the Iliad, um, and they can also be recent and fresh. Um, so you can have quotes, you can have words, and now it's not intertextuality that we talk about. We also talk about visual intertextuality, where writers can also refer to and illustrate using paintings and sculptures from other works. So again, intertextuality is a feature. So we're talking about non-linearity. We're talking about unconnected plots. As you can see, if you look at the case in Voices in the Park, and then it's the same plot with variations, but obviously they are not connected. And these are examples: the Mona Lisa, Hats, Hal's Laughing Cavalier, Munch's Scream, and other motifs. Again, we also have this visual intertextual references, like I said. Um, Intertextual references, and we have a lot of them, and this is something that I would like you to read about and perhaps prepare something about. Um, and this is it. But ambiguity is also something. Sarcasm and being cynical is also a feature of the postmodern in this picture book. Um, um, I think I'll stop on this note and with this item. Next time when we meet, inshallah, and this is going to be after, inshallah, Al-Hajj, we are going to uh, start the other side of truth. And I would like you to read the other side of truth because it's a very interesting piece of work. It's a novel, so it's not a picture book anymore. Let me just remind you that, inshallah, the MTA covers three works: the two picture books and the other side of truth. So we're going to invest time and efforts and energies on the other side of truth because we have close reading, and close reading normally comes from the other side of truth in the midterm exam. I think I have perhaps 4 or 5 more minutes for questions if you have any before we call it a night.
The first quiz is just for the Peter Rabbit and Voices in the Park, right?
Yes, yes. Inshallah.
Sir, are you taking attendance, right?
You don't have to worry about that. Um, Any more questions? Okay. So when are we? Yeah, we're meeting again on the what? Our very next meeting. Let me
Monday.
check. Not this
Oh, you
Monday,
said
of
Eid.
course. Yes,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
Eid. So we're meeting, inshallah. When do we meet? Do we meet on Monday and Tuesday, right?
Correct.
Yes,
Normally,
doctor.
normally. So
Yeah, yeah.
which means we're meeting our first meeting after we come back from Eid is going to be June the 24th, right?
Inshallah.
Yes,
And we,
inshallah.
when do we have our quiz? I think I have an announcement on the
On the
LMS.
26.
26.
26.
29.
Sorry. No, 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 I'm not. I don't want us to
29
confuse
is the
between
midterm.
It's a
20.
29, the MTA.
The MTA is on the 29th, while
20,
uh,
Quiz,
20
not MTA.
ده خلينا في الكويز يا جماعة. الكويز يوم ايه؟
26.
20
26.
26 ممتاز ماشي كويس بس
Doctor, I
طيب.
have a simple question.
مهم.
silent movies هي نفسها depiction ولا
إيه،
depiction is just pictures like storybook
لا
زي Charlie
depiction is
Chaplin is it under depiction ولا لا؟
you're asking about the literal meaning of the word depiction يا منال.
أيوة.
Depiction is like portraying. If you portray a character, it can be in a movie, it can be in a novel. See?
أيوة أيوة.
Yeah. فمعناها واحد في كل ال يعني البلاتفورمز أو كده. Okay.
Doctor,
Yes.
what about when we have quiz two?
Well, I think I was very clear that you will come to the university and do the exam on your different campuses. If you happen to be from Dammam, you go to Dammam. If you happen to be from Jeddah, if you're from Jeddah, raise your hands. So none of us is from Jeddah. I'm the only one. Fatma is from Jeddah.
Yes.
Okay. طيب. Also Inas is from Jeddah. Nice. If you're from Riyadh, I would like you to raise your hands. Diala, who else? Diala, Bara, Sara, Reem, Roba, Noura, Manal, Rosanna, okay, and Badreya. If you're from Dammam, raise your hands. Dammam. Aya is from Dammam. Zahra, Noura, Rosanna, Muhammad, Amir or Omar. طيب ماشي. Shaza and Zahra.
And
طيب.
me, sir, you didn't mention my name.
Mean, what's your name? Maram?
Maram.
What about
Ma-
Medina?
if you're from okay, if you're from Medina, raise your hand. معلش مش عايزين نزعل حد أيام مفترجة طبعا. Uh, so Rawan is from Medina. Okay, I think Rawan is the only one from Medina. Okay, طيب ممتاز. Anyway, I haven't decided on a day for the second quiz, but I'll let you know when I decide. Again, you guys are going to go to the university and do the exam there because it's going to be paper-based, inshallah. Okay, clear?
Yes, clear, Doctor.
Yeah. On this note and with this item, we'll come to the end of this lovely meeting. Thank you so much. أجازة سعيدة وعيد مبارك عليكم جميعا وعلى أهليكم يا رب. السلام عليكم.
Thank you, Dr. Eid Mubarak.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciated.
Thank you, Doctor.
باي باي مع السلامة. عيد مبارك عليكم إن شاء الله.